So this is it, the video you've been waiting for. The Samsung Galaxy S8, Samsung's newest product, versus the iPhone 7, and how they match up. First, we're going to go over some specs. Then we're going to go over some subjective tests, what I think. Then we'll take a look at the actual benchmark test, as well as my recommendations for the type of people that might want to get each device and which is the best. All right, so first off, we're going to go over some basic specs. Of course, we have Samsung Galaxy S8 here on the left and the iPhone 7. This is the standard iPhone 7 right here on the right. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S8 boasts a 5.8-inch screen, where the iPhone 7 only has a 4.7-inch screen. But of course, the iPhone 7 Plus does have that 5.5-inch screen. But both of those are smaller than this new Samsung screen. Now, the Samsung screen looks absolutely stunning. That's my, opinion. But if you look at it here, it looks great. The iPhone screen is pretty good as well, but I would definitely give the screen probably to this new Android phone. Now, in terms of RAM, you got 4 gigabytes of RAM over here on the Samsung Galaxy S8, and you only have 2 on the iPhone 7. But in terms of storage, you only have 64 gigabytes, at least internally, on the S8, although it is notable you can put in a micro SD card. And then the iPhone 7, it goes from 32 gigabytes all the way up to 256. This happens to be a 256 model. So there's a little bit more internal storage, but the iPhone doesn't have that external storage feature. Now, the cameras, at least the rear-facing camera, is pretty on par with each other, both at 12 megapixels. And the Android camera is at, front-facing camera is at 8 megapixels, where the iPhone is 7. So slight edge for Android. But overall, I would give the cameras pretty on par with each other. Now, in terms of Siri versus Bixby, I would definitely give it to Siri. Siri definitely understands a lot better what you're trying to say, has a better interface, in my personal opinion, using both of those. Now, in terms of the screen, like I said, we're getting kind of a little bit into my opinion here. I would say that the screen is probably a bit better on the Samsung Galaxy S8. Now, we are hoping that the iPhone 8, and this is another thing to keep in mind too, it's not just between these two phones. There are some other phones in the market. Of course, I do think these are, the market leaders here, but you could also look into that iPhone 8 coming out in about half a year, where that's supposed to actually have that bigger screen similar to the Galaxy S8. Now, in terms of gaming, from my experience playing some of my favorite games on here, I would say the gaming experience is better on the Galaxy S8 than the iPhone. However, the app experience is a little bit more seamless in the iPhone itself, because based on Android in general, sometimes it can get bogged down a little bit using the apps, have some more glitches in Android than iPhone. Again, these are my opinions, and I'm trying to be pretty honest with my general opinions with the two devices. Obviously, went over the specs before, and we're going to take a look at the benchmark in just a second. In terms of camera, like I said, they are pretty on par. And then really ultimately customization is available in spades on the Android Galaxy S8, and on the iPhone you really have a lot of reliability in terms of the way that it functions, but not as much customization. All right, let's take a look at the benchmarks. All right, so we have both of our devices right here. We're going to run the benchmark on each of them and take a look and see what these results are. It might take a little bit. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of the iPhone 7 versus the Galaxy S8. I'll reserve my final opinions for the end. I try to go over some of the specs that it had in general, and then also cover some of the more subjective things. Like, I do genuinely believe Siri is better. I do like the overall iOS experience, but I do have to admit that on the Samsung Galaxy S8, there is so much customization available that you're really kind of missing out on that customization on the iPhone. In terms of screen, I would definitely, again, I'm repeating some of the stuff I've said before, but really trying to hone in on the core of what I'm saying here. I would say that the screen right now is better on the S8, but if you're looking for overall screen, I would probably recommend waiting until the iPhone 8 comes out to take a look and see if Apple ups their game and maybe even one-ups Samsung. Overall, with gaming, in terms of the way that the games play, it's pretty on par, but I would say with that screen on the Galaxy S8, it is a little bit better, and it has additional performance optimization as well. Be sure to check out our Galaxy S8 tips and tricks and hidden features videos for more information on that. We also have similar videos for the iPhone as well. Those were made back in October when it was initially came out. So if we take a look here, we are still running some of these tests. I think what we're going to do is probably skip ahead to the results. While we wait for that GeekBench score to load, I did want to tell you about an amazing application that's available both on Android and on your iPhone, and it is called Free My Apps. You can get it by going to the link in the description, also here on the screen, bit.ly/install Free My Apps. Right here on the screen, bit.ly/install Free My Apps. It lets you to download free apps and then redeem those for really amazing rewards. As you can see here, you can get Amazon gift cards, iTunes gift cards. If you're on Android, Google Play gift cards. You can even get Visa prepaid cards, which is straight up cash, just by downloading free apps, collecting points, and then using those points to redeem for gift cards. I recommend getting it. It's bit.ly/install Free My Apps. All right, let's take a look at those GeekBench scores. All right, so I did want to turn back on the camera because the iPhone is nearing the end of its test. The Samsung Galaxy still has a little bit to go. We did start them at the same time, although we won't know the full details until we are done with the test here. But it is notable that the iPhone is finishing quicker. But who knows the exact bearings that has. We won't know until we're able to see the finalized results after this is finished. So as you can see, the single core score on that iPhone has arrived. It is 3,436, and the multi-core score is 5,501. So let's wait for GeekBench to finish on the Android device. It's almost there. It's about 82%. Let's take a look at a little bit more of this system information. As you can see, it goes through all of the additional features here, and it talks about each individual test that it runs. But initially here, we do kind of want to just, at least on the base level for this, compare the standard GeekBench scores. Let's take a look here. It's at 88%. I think that does warrant a quick jump cut. All right, it looks like it is about to be finished, and here we go. So if you take a look, this is very, very interesting. The single core score, only 1,842 versus 3,436. But the multi-core score, which, as a whole matters a little bit more, is 6,254. Now, this is very interesting because that 4 gigs of RAM versus the 2 gigs of RAM on, an upper level is a little bit deceptive. It makes you think that this is going to perform 2 times as good, and we got to turn this on here. But in reality, it's actually not that much better as a whole because each individual core is not as powerful as the iPhone is. So if you take a look here, these 2 bottom scores are the ones you really want to identify with each other for overall performance. But in terms of the individual ones, this really does show us why it's a little bit deceptive, that 4 gigs versus 2 gigs of RAM here. So you can take a look and see that the scores, are pretty actually comparable. However, of course, there is an edge for the Galaxy S8, but I was expecting a little bit more of an edge here. So let's take a look at our final thoughts. So my final thoughts is that the Galaxy S8 is an amazing device. It is great. It just came out. And I definitely think that in terms of the screen, in terms of gaming, and in terms of, the RAM and the power based on that GeekBench score, it is better than the iPhone. Not quite as better as the marketing would have you believe, though. For the iPhone, though, I would say that some of the internal functions, such as Siri itself, do have Android beat. I also have a little bit of a propensity for that iOS. Even though it is not as customizable, it is a little bit more reliable, at least in my experience. So what I would recommend is if you're really into gaming, if you're really into customization, if you're really into power, I would go with this Android. Also, if you really want a great screen. But if you're looking for more dependability in your smartphone and potentially using utility apps and really having that dependability and a little bit more of a sleek UI, I would say, I would recommend going with the iPhone. Again, these are my opinions. I do still think overall as a phone at this point, the Samsung Galaxy S8 does have a little bit of an edge. However, it is one iteration above the iPhone. The iPhone 8 version, we are very excited to see what that will be coming out with and most likely rivaling this phone. But the dependability and reliability of the iPhone cannot be matched. So there are, pros and cons to both. I know it's a little bit not necessarily what you were expecting as the ending, but there's no 100% definitive winner, although I would say it's starting to skew a little bit towards that Galaxy S8. But let me know what you all think in the comments below. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, if you learned something, share it with your friends. Also, let us know which one you prefer. Remember, we don't want to get into an argument. We just want to see what you guys think, what you think you prefer is better for yourselves. Once again, I will see you all next time. My name is Alric from AppFind, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.